Welcome everyone to the latest edition of the launch of the State of the Global Islamic Economy Report 2020-2021. My name is Ibn Arabi Al-Ghani. I lead marketing, product and partnerships for Salam Gateway, the leading B2B media for the global Islamic economy. For this year's launch in India, the second time we launch the report for the Indian market. We're blessed to have as host the ICIF organization as well as Atoba. I will be sharing the agenda of our event today very shortly. Okay. So throughout the event, which should last around an hour and a half, you'll be able to, at any time, download the report by going on the QR code that you can see on screen. So we'll start off with a welcome address by Mr. Abdul Rakib, General Secretary of the Indian Center for Islamic Finance, one of the leading organization of fostering and promoting Islamic finance in India. This will then be followed by an address by Mr. Omar Al-Ansari from the Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center, the key supporter of the State of the Global Islamic Economy report for the past 8 years. We'll then hand over to Mr. Rafiuddin Shiko, CEO of Dinar Standard, to introduce the report's video and then present the key findings of the report for around 15 minutes. This will then be followed by a discussion, panel discussion, moderated by Ms. Semin Mirza, who is the lead analyst on this year's State of the Global Islamic Economy report, with a number of panelists, and we'll be closing around 3:30 India time for final remarks. So without further ado, I will hand over to Mr. Abdul Rakib for the opening address. Over to you, Mr. Rakib.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. On behalf of Indian Center for Islamic Finance and its chairman, Dr. Javed Ahmad Khan, and my colleague, Mr. Jazeel Abdul Wahid, and the trustees, as well as the co-host, Atoba Business Solution, its CEO, Moazzam Nayak, and Mr. Malik. I welcome all of you on this occasion of the launch of the State of Global Islamic Economy Report 2021. And the panelists and the CEOs who are attending this webinar, and this Islamic economy thriving in the challenging times. Friends, Indian Center for Islamic Finance is trying to introduce Islamic finance and banking since 2008 under the guidance of one of the legendary figures of the Islamic finance and economists, Dr. Najatullah Siddiqui. And along with them, there are trustees as eminent as Dr. Rahmatullah and Dr. Shariq Nisar in Indian Center for Islamic Finance. Multi-dimensional and various efforts have been undertaken by ICIF since its inception, creating awareness about the need and relevance of the Islamic finance and banking, social finance, and halal market, removing the misgiving that it is only for Muslims, not for all the communities of India. And so we have interacted with the scholars, with the students, with the Government of India, Reserve Bank of India, Finance Ministry, and even went and participated in the Parliament of India in the Select Committee on Insurance, along with Dr. Shariq Nisar. Friends, India is uniquely placed in the developing world with 3 Ds, as our Prime Minister is telling. We have got democracy, we have got demography, and the demand in India. And India is aiming at the $5 trillion economy in the near future. Though we have got a lot of problems and challenges, but still we have got ambitious plan of introducing so many new ideas and and many things for inclusive growth in this country. And as you know, that India has got the great ethos of absorbing anything beneficial for the human beings. And so we are very sure that Islamic finance and banking will also be absorbed and accommodated in the Indian circumstances. You also know that we have got 200 million Muslims population in India, but we are outside OIC. And so we are not being treated as a member of OIC, and we have got a great percentage of the Muslims and the marginalized people outside the banking and the financial inclusion. And so we are thinking that we have to get the help and guidance from various other overseas players in this Islamic economics and finance field, like Dinar is Standard, and also Dubai Islamic Finance Center, and also Salam Pathways, and so many other players who are there who can have a great influence on the people and the government of India and the regulators, and also have a unique opportunity to invest in India and create an entrepreneurship opportunities in this great country. And also we have got great challenges. As just one, I want to specifically say that when the Reserve Bank of India started an interdepartmental group report for introduction of Islamic windows in the bank, they said instead of Islamic, they say that participatory banking will be there in that one. And it is very heartening to note that last month, Supreme Court of India, in a long landmark judgment, rejected a plea seeking ban on the halal form of slaughtering, and it is a unique thing. And also another landmark achievement was the Atoba's Halal Expo 2020 in Hyderabad, in which Dinar Standard had the first introduction of this report also. And also one of the significant things that I want to say is that what the progress that has taken place in India is not for the Muslim community, but other communities. For example, the Iba Halal cosmetic of Maula Teli, which has been put in a special mention in the women entrepreneurs of India. And also the Sharia compliant Tata ethical funds have more investors of the other communities than Muslims. And also in India, lot of states like Telangana, their representatives here, and Kerala and Tamil Nadu are eager to encourage alternate finance for infrastructure development. So finally, I wish and pray that this launch of the report and the webinar will be a great trendsetter in popularizing the concept of Islamic economy in our great country. Once again, I thank the CEO, Dinar Standard, and Brother Suhaib, Salam Pathways, and also DIE, DC, and all the participants, and wish this launch a great success, and it will create a great opportunity to introduce Islamic economy and the halal market in this great country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdul Rakib. Thank you for sharing with us some of the extremely important work that your organization, yourself in particular, but also many of your colleagues and predecessors have done in raising at government policy level the importance of enabling Islamic finance or participative finance across India for the benefit of the Muslim population. You've raised very important questions around the issue of inclusion, social exclusion, and at a global geopolitical level, the absence of India from the OIC organization and some of the barriers you have in being able to lobby. So it's been a very insightful opening address, and we certainly hope that your mission will be further advanced through events of this nature, and also for policymakers to take note and to start helping the overall social inclusion through Islamic finance. Thank you once again. So I'll now hand over to Mr. Omar Al Ansari, program manager and project manager at the Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center, who will share a few words on behalf of one of the key supporters really of the Global Islamic Economy report, and the supporter from the very beginning of the work that we're doing here. So thank you so much, and over to you, Mr. Al-Ansari.
Thank you, Brother Ibn Arabi. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. I am pleased to join you today on behalf of the Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center at the New Delhi launch of the State of the Global Islamic Economy Report 2020-2021, alongside with our strategic partners, Dinar Standard and Salam Gateway, as well as our host for this afternoon, the Indian Center for Islamic Finance. This is our first foray into India, and it is reassuring to see such a strong attendance. Before I discuss this year's State of the Global Islamic Economy report, I take this opportunity to briefly introduce the center. In 2013, the Dubai Capital of Islamic Economy initiative was launched with the objective of positioning Dubai as the global capital of Islamic economy. And it came with the establishment of the Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center that works with its strategic partners on the rollout of the projects under the umbrella of the initiative and oversees its progress. A key component of the center's strategy is the annual State of the Global Islamic Economy report developed by Dinar Standard, which has become the global reference point for all Islamic economy stakeholders. In its eighth edition, the report estimates that 1.9 billion consumers worldwide spent $2.02 trillion on the halal food and beverages, pharmaceuticals, and lifestyle sectors in 2019. In the same year, Islamic finance assets are reported to have reached $2.88 trillion US. As countries across the globe implement measures to mitigate the spread of the coronavirus, economies are experiencing repercussions. Some of the top exporting countries in the world have severely affected by COVID-19, with manufacturing, production, and logistics being disrupted and shaking up the global supply chain. While India ranked as the largest halal product exporter in the world and one of the top 5 food exporters to the Organization of Islamic Cooperation countries, with exports worth approximately $14.4 billion US. It placed third globally in confirmed COVID-19 cases. Ladies and gentlemen, forecasts are shifting due to the turmoil resulting from the COVID-19 outbreak. And the Islamic economy is not immune. While the figures I highlighted earlier reflect a 3.2% year-on-year growth, expenditure in 2020 is expected to shrink by approximately 8% due to the economic impact of the pandemic. Nonetheless, we have complete confidence in the resilience and the competitiveness of the Islamic economy system that is founded on the ethical principles of Sharia. However, we cannot expand the reach of the Islamic economy and boost its sectors in isolation. We need to work together, not just with the local strategic partners, but also with international industry stakeholders, such as you, to ensure that the Islamic economy can truly serve as a more ethical, prosperous ecosystem. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Omar Al-Ansari. Very inspiring indeed words, and it's very important. It's very good that you set for us the global context of the global Islamic economy and the impact, and hence the tagline that we have for this year's report, which is thriving in uncertainty. And you've illustrated those points extremely well, as well as the importance of establishing the right partnerships worldwide across both public and private sector organizations to enhance the overall ecosystem of the global Islamic economy. So that this was very insightful. I'll now hand over to Rafiuddin Chico, who will first introduce the video, which I'll be sharing from my screen, and then present the complete findings, the key findings, should I say, of the report.
Thank you very much. Peace and greetings upon all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As Ibn Arabi mentioned, inshallah, I'd like to start, play the video, and I'll follow after that.
Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon all of you. The 8th edition of the State of the Global Islamic Economy estimates $2.02 trillion of Muslim consumer spending across halal food, pharma, cosmetics, travel, apparel, and media in 2019. Islamic finance assets, meanwhile, stood at $2.88 trillion.
In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, the report forecasts an 8% drop in global Muslim spending in 2020, with the travel sector being hit the worst and halal food faring the best. Spending is forecasted to rebound and reach $2.3 trillion in 2024.
The report covers special features on Gen Z views in the Islamic economy, successful women entrepreneurs, and 7 tech case studies accelerating digital transformation in the new normal.
The report's country benchmarking tool, the SGIE indicator, ranks the most developed Islamic economy ecosystems. Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Indonesia lead the rankings among the 81 countries covered this year.
Investments in the Islamic economy totaled $11.8 billion in 2019-20, a decline of 13% over the previous period. At 54%, over half of total investments were in halal products, while Islamic finance drew another 42%.
Amidst the pandemic, our analysis shows that the Islamic economy is thriving in uncertainty. The report has identified 33 key signals of opportunities. In the lifestyle sectors, travel, tech, and online entertainment are the key signals.
In Islamic finance, while the sector struggles to bring back its double-digit growth days, accelerate digital transformation, and social finance and ESG aspects are driving key opportunities. These key signals include tokenization of sukuk and Islamic social finance.
In 2019, the global trade of halal food, pharma, and cosmetics was estimated at $200 billion, and the key opportunities area include food security investments, agri and food tech, and healthy food.
Over to you, Rafiuddin.
Can everyone see the screen, or Mr. Ibn Arabi? Okay. Once again, greetings and salams to all. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Abdul Rakib, the Secretary General of ISIF, for your support in hosting this event in India, a very important country for Islamic economy, as well as Mr. Omar Ansari, who, representing Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center, has shared the vision that really started off this work and has really contributed to enabling the global Islamic economy and providing the global Islamic economy with a reference point. So I'd like to thank both of you for your welcome opening remarks, as well as the other distinguished panelists who will be joining us later and the participants. So thank you all. As you saw from the opening remarks of Mr. Omar Ansari, as well as the video that summarizes the key findings, I'd like to begin also on behalf of the 16 team members of Dinar Standard that produced this year's report, to once again thank not just DIDC, but our other partner, Salam Gateway, which is one of the largest business media platform for Islamic economy. Our design partners led by Gold Studio that have helped produce an interactive experience and a very visual experience for all of you. And once again, our launch host here, ISIF. We also have had great support worldwide by other strategic partners and sponsors who have not only supported us, but have also shared their views and have special contributions in the report that you can find from Ifanka, CIMB Islamic, MDEC, UNHCR, Refinitiv, Duo Pharma, Linkaja. Collectively, they represent various sectors and geographies across the world. We are also delighted this year to be sharing the findings of this report worldwide from now, as of the latest count, 13 different countries, showing the importance of this work, showing the importance of Islamic economy, first of all, for many countries, and the importance it's been given amidst the challenging year we're facing as well. So we're delighted to have to be sharing these findings across many countries. Before I go into the key findings of the report, it's important to share with you our methodology to continue to build the confidence across the stakeholders of the deep approach and methodology we have taken through the 8 years of producing this annual report. The first point to mention here is Dinar Standard, first of all, in its past 12 years of covering the Islamic economy, has been aggregating and producing its own research and tracking the investment activity that's happening across the sectors we will talk about later, the innovation that's happening globally, the regulatory ecosystem, the trade that's happening, the estimation and of the Muslim demographic and consumer behavior, which makes the core of the methodology of the research of the work, bringing to bear our 12 years of this collective intelligence. We also every year interview industry experts from across the different sectors and geographically. This year, 52 industry professionals were interviewed. They're all listed and acknowledged at the end of the report and methodology. For Islamic finance data in particular, we partner with Refinitiv, formerly Thomson Reuters, who previously were also partners in producing the report with us. Also, we scan thousands of stories through the past year to find out all the developments from across the world, across the sectors of the Islamic economy. And within the report itself, over 450 stories are referenced. We leverage multilateral agency databases from the UN, World Bank, IMF, and other public data provided at a country and national level. And finally, we analyze this, leveraging original market analysis that our team at Dinar Standard has put together, and sizing the market, in doing a country level benchmarking, in doing the investment analysis. And perhaps the most important point that all of you look for is, what are the signals of opportunities that we find? The report is a 200+ page report that is available freely for all to download, and it's structured in the following way. We first introduce and share with our readers the context of the demographic and drivers of the Islamic economy, the definition, how we define, and I'll come to that. Obviously, this year we are highlighting COVID-19's impact. We have the country benchmarking tool called the Global Islamic Economy Indicator that we'll cover, I'll share further details on. We have done this year the most extensive investment tracking across the Islamic economy sectors. We're excited to share this year a special feature on successful women entrepreneurs in the Islamic economy, which is an exciting story or part of the development of the Islamic economy worldwide, as well as given the importance of the young demographic, not just across the world, but specifically within the Islamic markets, the role of Generation Z, and we've incorporated their perspectives very strongly, as you'll see in the report. Next, the report has a good 20-page or so analysis per 7 sectors that are covered: food, finance, travel, fashion or clothing, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, and media and recreation. And for each, we present the 2019-20 developments, signals of opportunity, and then strategic considerations for investors, governments, businesses, as well as providing technology case studies given the importance of digital transformation. One of the first things we highlight in presenting this report is what is the definition as is being covered of Islamic economy in this report. We're certainly familiar and aware that there could be very many ways to slice and dice and view and define Islamic economy. Here we have looked at those sectors or industries whose core products or services have been affected by Islamic law. So as an example, when we look at food or finance, the core product of food and finance is affected by Islamic law. Whereas I always give the example of, for example, furniture. The core product of furniture is not affected by Islamic law directly, and hence those other sectors are not covered. Based on this definition, there are 7 key sectors that are significant in this perspective. 6 are real economy sectors of food, clothing, media and recreation, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and Muslim-friendly travel. All of these whose core products are significantly affected by Islamic law, as well as Islamic finance, obviously, that is the biggest piece of the 7 sectors we cover. This year's report, as my colleague and friend, Mr. Omar Al-Ansari mentioned, we estimate $2.02 trillion consumer spending by 1.9 billion Muslims worldwide across these 6 real economy sectors, as well as 2.88 trillion Islamic finance assets. The more significant part of this year's report really needed to address the impact of the pandemic. Our estimate is that 2020 will see an 8% decrease in spending in aggregate across all of these 6 real economy sectors. We project it to bounce back by towards the end of our last quarter of 2021. And as you all know, with the latest development vis-a-vis the vaccines that are out now, we feel further confident that the economies in general, as well as these sectors, will be bouncing back. We estimate an overall CAGR of 5-year of 3.1% through 2024, taking the consumer spending on the real economy to 2.4 trillion by 2024. Now, this is certainly a more muted projection because pre-COVID, our estimate was about 6.2% of growth of the sectors, but now we're estimating it to be 3.1%. Of these 6 real economy sectors, travel tourism has been affected and hit the worst. We're estimating 2020 it to be at negative 70%, whereas food fared the best at negative 0.2%. And this is an aggregate, and you'll see the details for each sector in the report subsequently. As mentioned, we have very exciting views from the Generation Z from across the world, their perspectives on halal food to finance, and increasingly this is going to be the generation that the industry and the economies of Islamic economy sectors will have to listen to. We're also excited to share the great developments we're seeing across women entrepreneurship in the Islamic economy, a great source of economic contribution, and something that we're very proud to see that women entrepreneurs from the Islamic economies are taking charge and showing strong leadership. We also have covered 7 technology case studies, and as you can imagine, this is an important area going forward. When we look at the country benchmark this year, once again, in our 8 years of doing the country benchmarking, Malaysia has led the ranking at number 1. When we look at, which is a composite index of 49 metrics across the 7 sectors that are covered in this economy, and gives a composite aggregate score. 2 things to keep in mind: this indicator of a country level ranking is based on, it's relative to the size of the country and is weighted proportionate to the size of the sector. About 56% of the weightage, more than 50%, just so I don't misrepresent it exactly, is Islamic finance. and then about 24% is halal food, and then subsequent sectors. So keep it in mind that the ranking here is weighted based on this approach that we have. We feel it has to reflect the general size of the economy. And so, as you can see, after Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, which moved up a ranking, the United Arab Emirates, Indonesia, and Jordan make the top 5 in the overall ranking. And like I said, the ranking reflects a country's ecosystems across Islamic economy relative to their size. In terms of investments, we saw $11.8 billion of investments across these sectors within the OIC countries. And that's been our criteria to share these numbers with you. 52% have been in halal food, 42% in Islamic finance, and then the other sectors, travel, pharma, cosmetics, more of, as you can see, less than 10% there collectively. From a country point of view, we saw the highest number of transactions happen in Indonesia, then Malaysia, followed by UAE. We see, in terms of type of investment, about 55% M&A, 38% venture capital, and 6% private equity, kind of giving a view of what type of investors are involved in the space. One of the most important findings of the report, ultimately, especially in this pandemic year, is around where are the growth opportunities going forward. We're all looking for ways, and what we are seeing is that, first of all, we have identified 33 signals of opportunities in this report across the 7 sectors covered. One of the big headline trend is that, especially further driven by the pandemic, that government at a government level are looking and are investing further on food security. So given, as I believe my colleague Omar had mentioned earlier, among the top 5 exporters, which India is one of the top 5 exporters, the top 4 countries that are top 5 exporters of halal products are also today the top 5 countries when it comes to COVID impact, or the number of cases of COVID, which has severely disrupted the supply chain, especially from the Americas and Brazil, the further regions into OIC countries. This is making a lot of OIC countries invest further in domestic production, and has created new opportunities when it comes to the food supply chain or the pharmaceutical and cosmetic products supply chain. The other big theme is technology, which is an obvious one, but specifically within each of the sector, you will see the signals. For example, within food, the blockchain and IoT-enabled traceability, given the concerns around integrity of halal compliance, as well as traceability of the supply chain going forward. In finance, we're seeing tokenization of sukuks is an innovative area of growth. Within travel tourism, which, as I said, is the most hurt by the pandemic. AI-driven customer engagement are areas that the travel sector is looking to pivot, and so forth. So, and in media, as you all know, online entertainment is one of the success stories, an online gaming boom with a culturally sensitive and contextual content is a big area of growth, as we see. Now, when we talk about Indian economy's opportunity, and I'll conclude with this quickly, is that today, in terms of the index, India ranks 33rd. And like I said, this is vis-a-vis how strong is the ecosystem. And when we say ecosystem, we're looking at the regulatory environment, we're looking at the level of awareness, we're looking at the economic role in terms of the financials, we're looking at also social impact indicator, the 49 metrics, and it's relative to the size of the country. So as at the indicator level, India is at number 33. But when you look at halal products export, India is the second largest exporter of halal products, 7%, $17.8 billion. This is the latest 2019 numbers that I'm sharing with you, with the US being number 1. So the first point to note here is the global halal products trade is truly global today. As you can see, in fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, only the number 8 country in the ranking is an OIC country, meaning a Muslim majority OIC member country. The rest are not. So we are talking about an economy that today is truly global. It has a significant role to play in global economies, perseverance and growth. So from an India point of view, Islamic finance assets, as Mr. Abdul Rakib, you've highlighted a lot of the challenges. There's a lot of room for domestic Islamic finance to grow. And this is our estimate based on Refinitiv data on the Islamic finance assets today, which is really, when you compare to, for example, Malaysia, which is at $500+ billion, there's a lot of room for growth. Now, one of the most important areas within India from a consumer market point of view is India domestically has our estimate of a $73 billion of a Muslim consumer market across these products. And this is an area that is, I think, a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs in India and FDI and businesses across the world, from Malaysia, Indonesia, UAE, etc., to invest in this significant, as rightly Mr. Abdul Rakib pointed out, one of the largest consumer markets of halal products as well. The report identifies many developments from India as well. As you read through the report, you'll see many examples in Islamic finance and India-based fintech. eCar World has launched a P2P platform offering vehicle financing under the Ijara rent-to-own model. Alana is a very old, very well-known, one of the largest, in fact, if not the largest halal meat exporter in the world. And we see entrepreneurship from halal cosmetics, IBA, and there are a few others as well. And also digital matrimonial sites, in fact, are one of the success stories of Islamic e-commerce. And we certainly have some of those success stories coming out of India as well. So to conclude, I would just want to, again, I wanted to just share with you that now with the launch of the report, when you go to Salam Gateway, you will see we also have created a digital dashboard. And you can zoom in and you can see where India is in different sectors, not just overall economy, but you can see its ranking here across each of the indicators. You can go to the pharmaceutical sectors, cosmetic sectors. So this year, we're excited to share some interactive elements to the report with you. So with this, I'd like to conclude and thank you all and look forward to a great panel discussion. Thank you, Ibn Arabi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Fascinating insights, Rafiuddin. Thank you so much for outlining the key opportunities, some of the challenges, but also the positioning of India as a very, very large exporter and a high potential consumer market. Some estimates rank India as the first Muslim country by population size by 2050, which says a lot about a non-Muslim majority country becoming the largest country in terms of Muslim population, and what this implies in terms of commercial, economic, and social potential. So we'll now move on to the panel discussion aspect of this event, with Sister Semin leading the discussions. Over to you, Sister Semin. I will just hand over the microphone.
Okay. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, and a warm welcome to all of you. Peace be upon all of you, and a very good afternoon. I'm Semin Mirza, Senior Manager at Dinar Standard and your moderator for today's session. It's an honor to host all of you this afternoon. As you've heard, India plays a critical role in the Islamic economy, being one of the leading exporters of halal products. With more than 195 million Muslims calling India home, there is great potential for India to grow and play a greater role in the Islamic economy through both domestic and international initiatives. Today, we have with us 4 esteemed panelists who are playing leading roles in their respective domains. Many of them are deeply invested in building the Islamic economy in India and see their work as benefiting the Muslims in India and across the globe. Sorry, one second. Yes, as I was saying, So they see their work as benefiting not only the Muslims in India, but also across the globe and India's population as well. With this introduction, I'd like to invite our panelists to join the session with the hope of not only sparking important discussions, but concrete action that will strengthen the Islamic economy in India. We welcome your questions for the panelists, and we'll take them as the time and context allows. I'll begin with calling on Mr. Akhil Gawar. Mr. Akhil Gawar is a director with the government of Telangana, currently looking after food processing in the Department of Industries and Commerce. He also leads the Telangana State Food Processing Society. Welcome, Mr. Gawar.
Thank you so much.
Next, I'd like to call on our next guest, Mrs. Parveen Banu Anas, who's the Managing Director at Halal Asia Services. Halal Asia Services is a professional halal certification body providing halal certifications and training programs span India and worldwide. Welcome, Mrs. Banu.
Thank you.
And next, I'd like to welcome Mr. Muhammad Noor, founder and CEO of Halal Trade Zone, which is a global halal B2B platform. Mr. Muhammad Noor also runs several other Islamic economy platforms, including the newly launched iHalal conference. Finally, we would like to welcome Dr. Sharif Nisar. He's a professor at Rizvi Institute of Management Studies. In his 20 years of professional career, Dr. Sharif has worked closely with India's top stock exchanges, the BSE and the NSE, to launch Sharia-compliant financial products, among other landmark financial products. Welcome, sir, and welcome, Mr. Muhammad Noor.
Thank you, sister.
We'd like to begin with maybe a very brief introduction of yourselves. Mr. Gawar, if you could go first, please.
Thank you so much. So, like you said in the introduction, I look after the food processing sector for the provincial government of one of the states in Telangana, in India. And Telangana, you may not be familiar with, but possibly I think most of your participants will be familiar with the city of Hyderabad in India. So Telangana happens to be where Hyderabad is. It's the capital of Telangana. We are one of the newer states to form in India, and we are one of the fastest growing states in India, and we have a considerable, I would say, Islamic cultural and historical influence, dating, I mean, up until 1948, the Nizams used to rule the state of Telangana, the current state of Telangana. So there is considerable amount of Islamic heritage and culture that exists in Telangana, and halal as a matter of lifestyle actually comes naturally to the people of Telangana.
Thank you. I forgot to tell everyone that I'm from Hyderabad. I should have mentioned that. So happy to see you here, sir. And next, I'd like to go to Ms. Parveen Banu. Please, could you introduce yourself?
Good afternoon to everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Parveen Banu Anas. I'm the Managing Director of Halal Asia Services. We are a CB. We issue halal certificates, and we got accreditation from JAC, and we got approval from ESMA, and we run training programs and awareness programs also. So we have started 4 years back, and that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Sharif, if you could go next, please.
Thank you, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I am in Islamic finance, as I was introduced. I spent about 20 years. I realized that I have to do a lot of homework in finance by going back to academia, prepare human resource for financial industry. So I keep switching between academia and industry. Wherever Sharia requirement, Sharia compliance requirement is there, I have a company called Sharia Capital, through which we certify Islamic finance activities and product, Kerala government being our client, and a couple of others. At the same time, I spend time in teaching finance, alternative finance, Islamic finance in the industry, and participate in events like this. So look forward to interacting with everyone today.
Thank you. And Mr. Muhammad Noor, if you could go next, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Um, I got into halal industry back in 2009 with Halal Trade Zone as a global B2B platform for the halal industry. And recently, when this COVID-19 happened, we launched iHalal conference in the month of April, along with my partners in Kuwait, Dr. Hani Al-Mazidi, under the patronage of SNIC, which is the standardization body for the whole of OIC countries. So then, alhamdulillah, we had a very good success with the
Mr. Muhammad
then we
Noor, we
launched
can barely hear you.
Expo. Alhamdulillah, even that
I think we're experiencing some technical issues with the line with Mr. Mohammed Noor. Perhaps we can have you back in a few minutes.
Okay, maybe then I'll begin the session and we can hear from Mr. Noor as we go on. Mr. Gawar, if I could go back to you and ask you, how can India play a greater role in the halal industry? You've also been working on creating a proposal for creating a halal hub in the state. Could you please tell us more about this and other initiatives that are being put in place to promote halal products both domestically and internationally?
Yeah, thank you so much. The way I choose to look at, we've been looking at it in the government of Telangana, is that we are not looking at halal as a new segment. So, what essentially our government's focus is that our government, so Hyderabad per se has already been an export powerhouse for IT and pharma. And it is known for a very strong presence of the IT and pharma industry as such. We at the government are looking at additional engines of exports over and above IT and pharma, which traditionally have been the key sectors that have contributed to the export segment. So, as a matter of identifying new segments of growth, typically what we are focusing on are agri products, food processing sector, and then correspondingly nutraceuticals, correspondingly cosmetics, correspondingly jewelry. Hyderabad being one of the major hubs of gems and jewelry also, so on and so forth. So there are several sectors where that have been identified to be drivers of export from Telangana. And incidentally, what has been identified is, and then when we go deeper into what are our strengths, typically from the state in terms of our produce, when we look at that, we identify that currently already there is a significant amount of export that happens from Telangana to, I would say, what is being referred to as OIC countries right now. And a substantial amount of that produce, I would say that when we look at the segment, the amount of trade that happens in these segments today is far less than what can happen in these segments. One of the major components of or barriers to trade today are non-technical or non-tariff barriers that exist for trade. So, for example, Telangana is a very, very strong producer of poultry products, eggs and poultry meat. But I don't think we export as much as we should, even to OIC countries. Now, what happens is that there are several aspects, and India is a very large country as such. So, looking at the entire country and then the way trade relationships happen, etc., are a little bit limiting to the current setup. So what we try to look at halal certification, halal sort of the whole idea around halal is that if we can in some way truly realize the potential of this export market that exists for India and for Telangana in particular in some of these OIC countries is really the outlook here. So interestingly, some of things such as halal pharma that was mentioned, I think the pharma industry in Hyderabad has already been quick to pick up on that. And several of the existing industries in Hyderabad have already gone ahead and applied for halal certifications or have taken halal certifications correspondingly. A lot of food providers, incidentally, Alana was being mentioned. One of the very large facilities of Alana is actually near from where they export. But several other segments, I would say, which could really benefit from being halal certified or being a part of the halal trade ecosystem where they can benefit from linkages, from marketing tie-ups, from from the perspective of acceptance into these YC markets is what essentially is being looked at. So that within itself presents a huge opportunity. That's one thought process. The other thought process is around the local market on halal, which incidentally in India, typically if you go, most of the establishments are halal compliant already. But nobody seriously goes out in claiming that they are halal compliant or halal certified. So there is a completely different market there that exists with respect to building the certified halal market in India itself, which is
I
within
understand.
itself huge market.
I think I'd like to bring in Ms. Banu here just for her perspective, because she's also seeing, as the halal certifier in Chennai, she's seeing the market from her perspective. So I would like to bring you in, Ms. Banu, and ask you, how do you see the opportunities for India to grow further in halal pharma? How has it been during COVID, and how has it in the past 4 years? How have you seen business grow through your agency, your organization?
Yeah, so though India is the largest Muslim population, the second place in world, the awareness about halal and usage of halal products are comparatively less. And yes, we can say now the awareness has come. People started to looking for halal certified products, especially in cosmetic industry and pharma industry. Yes, there is some awareness, but I believe that this awareness and willingness to spend money on those halal certified products will help the market growth. Okay, but especially halal, when it comes to halal products, we can see one or two successful brands in the market. We can see, especially IBA. They have been here in the market for long years, and they are very successful cosmetic, halal certified cosmetic products. But we encourage other products also come to take the halal certificates for the local usage. The market scenario is when export to OIC countries, otherwise Malaysia, because they have to acquire the halal certificates, most of the products go for halal certification.
Right.
That's for only for export purpose to get the entry into that particular country. But the awareness in local marketing scenario is comparatively less, and we have creating awareness as a CB. As a CB, we are trying to create awareness about these halal products and usage of so benefits of using halal certified products, cosmetics and pharma. So cosmetics, you can see you have seen that growth level of marketing level of cosmetics and this pharma is below 10%, right? So that's a current scenario. I hope it will grow in future. But when people are getting that health related issues like breast cancer and all, they'll become aware of using so halal certified products, even skincare products. They are becoming aware of the usage of lard, otherwise pork, and some of the gelatins. They are using as substitutes of oils. So now they are becoming aware of these ingredients, and now they are willing to go for this halal certified products. One more thing is that another market is vegan. People who don't want to use animal products in their cosmetics, they are willing to go for this one. So that's so they are willing to go for this halal certified products. The market need is in that way. So whoever is in the production of cosmetics and for we would like to see more marketing for those products from their end, and the government has to encourage. See, Telangana, the government is encouraging the export of halal products, right? Cosmetics, though it's in cosmetics and pharma, we are expecting these kind of encouragement. Yeah, yes, we have to agree. We are the top meat, second or top meat exporter globally. So there's a first product. That's the most exported product from India is the meat. So we are getting a request for a halal certification for our own meat products only. The second thing is frozen meat products. Not many halal certified cosmetics. There's comparatively less. That pharma is still it's a question mark thing only. So there is only one halal certified pharma is in India. So comparatively the 1,000 in numbers in Malaysia. So so India is a multicultural and multilingual community country. We cannot expect that kind of, we should not actually compare Malaysia to India. But I'm saying that the growth level is, it will grow. The industry will grow. The demand is there. The demand will help the market to grow.
Okay, that's great. And any initiatives that your organization is doing to carry out awareness over the next year? Are there some programs that you're considering?
Yeah, we are planning, and we are closely working with Atoba to create awareness, and they are already doing many halal related programs. And we are also trying to do halal awareness. Actually, in our level, we are trying to we conduct awareness programs to the public and to the next level of alims, imams, the Sharia team. So we trained and hire, and we trying to create awareness. Inshallah, hopefully we'll in 2021 we'll have a big program to create awareness. Inshallah.
Inshallah, God willing. Dr. Nisar, if I could ask you, you've been in the industry for a long time. We're hearing about the success of Islamic banking in various countries across the world, not only in the OIC markets. What do you think is hindering the growth of Islamic banking in India? What systems do you think need to be in place, and what regulations do you think maybe are obstacles or need to be amended for this industry to grow? Dr. Nisar, we can't hear you.
Yeah, that's a long list of questions. First of all, if we look at the structure of banking in our country, it is cut off from real life business, number one, and it is also cut off from industrialists in the country. Now, just last week, we got a proposal that industrialists should be allowed. But as banking grew in the country in the last 150 years or plus, it was experienced that it is better for the banking industry if industrialists are not allowed to own bank, because that will be a kind of conflict of interest. So you have to choose whether you wish to be in banking industry or you wish to be in the finance industry. That was the philosophy, that there has to be by design a compartmentalization of real economic activity and real business people and the financial industry. Now, this is the structure and philosophy of Indian banking system. If you look at Islamic banking, this is conversely exactly opposite. If you want to earn profit, then you have to go via the real economic activities. So any Islamic bank has to get into a real transaction, real life transaction. It has to trade, it has to invest, it has to share risk, and then eligible for rewards. So intrinsically, if you look at Islamic banking and Indian banking law currently are not matching with each other. Now, there has been effort to convince Indian banking system that Indian banking policy makers that we have to allow based on the experiences in the Western countries, especially UK, USA, and other European countries, where they have tried to accommodate Islamic banking by tweaking the financial regulations so that a large number of people who are hitherto not coming to financial sector with their savings, they are encouraged to come. And also because a lot of financing needs that the people are not able to afford, they can afford if their religious sentiments are met with. So based on that, RBI has been very accommodative on that front. And finally in 2015, Mohanty committee gave a recommendation also that Indian banks should be allowed to experiment with a couple of products which are Sharia compliant. Unfortunately, India being a very sensitive on religious front, also there are issues on political front, and that is where the political system of the country has to take a call whether to allow Islamic banking or not. One suggestion has been that you don't call it Islamic, you basically focus on the value that you bring in rather than identity that you come up with, and that may perhaps ease the thing, and maybe it can reduce the challenge. That is on one part. The second part, very quickly, is the other segment of Indian financial sector, which is capital market. And in this, we have seen one of the earliest Islamic funds in the world was launched by Tata. Even Sharia indices, Sharia screening was not developed in 1996 when Tata's launched India's first Sharia fund. So that is a very remarkable achievement that one of the oldest global Islamic fund is from India. Unfortunately, because of people have withdrawn from financial sector, their financial literacy is quite poor, and because of other apprehensions, they have not been very actively participating in the financial system, and that has retarded the growth of financial sector in India as far as Muslim products are concerned or Islamic products are concerned. If Tata were successful, a lot of others people would have come forward with other products. Unfortunately, because we were not enough active to promote those kind of activities, so even those Sharia products are supported or invested more by Christians and Jain because of the value of Islamic fund than Muslims. So these are the challenges. But more important that in my entire career, I have not seen that Islamic finance is priority of Muslims in India at least. And if it is not a priority as far as community is concerned, then obviously government and business people will never take it on priority, which is not a priority in itself as far as community is concerned.
That sounds very unfortunate, because it's not only of course the Muslims are losing, and then as an alternative ethical finance route, that's an opportunity lost to other people in the country as well. So it's quite unfortunate that this is the situation.
Yes, we have lot of hard work to do.
Yes, inshallah. I'll go to Mr. Noor next, because I'd like to hear Mr. Noor, because the current environment is such with COVID-19. Companies are not able to carry out their B2B marketing initiatives. You're pioneering and starting the iHalal Expo, the first virtual international halal conference, which was a much needed initiative during these times. What do you think now that COVID isn't really going away? What can companies continue to do to boost their marketing initiatives over the next year? What opportunities or options do they have besides conferences, virtual conferences?
What companies need to do is to build a strong social media presence, especially on LinkedIn, if they are looking to tap into B2B market, basically, to reach out to B2B clients. LinkedIn is the best platform. Then join in like online B2B platforms like something like Alibaba, And we are, inshallah, going to upgrade our platform, halaltradezone.com, and making it more open. And we will make it live by the end of December, fully again. So that is important, to have a proper dedicated B2B platform for halal certified products. So inshallah, we are working towards it. And then also have proper, like, have their websites properly made and clearly mention the certifications that they have. And that really helps. And also chambers of commerces also need to support halal certified companies by having a separate halal industry department within their chambers. So that will really help for companies in different countries to reach out to each other, find each other, and do business together. Inshallah.
I really appreciate your points. Are there any associations that can help within India, domestically or in states? Are there associations that can help companies build, collaborate with each other, build more strength?
As of now, we have from Dubai, Halal Trade and Marketing Center. I think they are one of the best now, alhamdulillah. And inshallah, we will also get into this activities fully again, along with our halal startup support. So that should help people out. So as of now, I see Dubai. What is in Dubai? That is the best halal trade and marketing center.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Gawar, I'll go back to you. You mentioned that that there is lots of potential for halal to grow. Do you see any particular countries being strategic partners in particular for Hyderabad? Will there be a specific focus on any countries, or are there any partnerships in the works or on the radar for India's or at least Telangana's halal exports to grow?
So typically, there is, if you look at, so there are two separate segments that are already existing. So one is the already existing clients of the existing exporters, which is typically the US and the European countries. And particularly, there is a, even in the halal segment, there is a significant market that exists in the US and the Europe. The second global association that we have in terms of export partnerships is in the Middle East. So the entire set of Middle Eastern countries are actually consumers of products from Telangana. So just to give you certain examples, so Iran is one of the largest consumers of turmeric that goes from Telangana.
Oh, wow.
And then there is significant exports that happen to the entire the Gulf. Basically, if you look at UAE, Saudi, Oman, etc., almost all the countries there. So, and typically, what has happened is in terms of so the trade that happens today with Middle Eastern countries is of expats from India who born and settled there and who basically form very strong trade linkage between Hyderabad and Gulf market. So, so I think that these two areas continue to be very strong focus in terms of the expanding the export market as we are looking at. Malaysia, Indonesia, and the other segment, which is Southeast Asian Muslim countries, are also focused, but that will take a different approach in terms of the kind of products, etc., that get targeted towards that market versus the kind of products that get targeted towards the Middle East.
Sorry, I'm not able to, I didn't
Yeah, I think
hear the last part. If you could
network
just
is a
repeat that
little,
again.
unfortunately, it's a little bad. It's been raining here. So I don't know if that contributes. But what I wanted to say was that all three markets, typically the US, Europe, with respect to pharma and with respect to the traditional exports that happen, are important. Middle Eastern segment is more towards fast-moving consumer products and food items, and then the Malaysian market is we're trying to still figure out what would be the ideal export commodities other than the traditional export commodities like buffalo meat, etc. That already
Understood. Thank you. That's very helpful to know, because we can see what's happening over the next year, hopefully, and see some progress there. Mrs. Bano, I'd like to come back to you. You've got accreditation from ESMA. You've got your company has got accreditation from GSE. You're also working to get JAKIM's accreditation. Now we know that they have really high standards when it comes to halal certification. But how aware is our Indian businesses about the need for certification, accreditation from like halal certification from these organizations, and how is it a challenge? Because first of all, there's some variation in halal standards. Not every country, every leading country has its own halal standards. So how has it been with the businesses that you're working with? Has it been a challenge?
Yes, indeed, it's a challenge to convince the customer to go for two different certificates. If a customer is going to export to Malaysia at the same time to Gulf, UAE and Saudi, so we have to make him to go for three different certificates. One for Malaysia. Malaysia has its own standards and its accreditation body. UAE, it has its own accreditation body and standards, and Saudi, now it's coming up with COC certifications and all. So three different certificates in that, and we have to convince the customer. See, he has to pay for two different things and to export one product. It's very difficult. We already faced many questions. What is the difference between the standards? Why they have different standards for halal? So when it comes to halal, there must be one single standard, right? But why they have different standards like that? We face questions. So we explain to them. See, these countries, they have their own accreditation body. They have their standard, and their foreign policy also involved in that one. See, what is the difference it makes is that their own policies. So to make give entry to any product into their own country, the difference actually more or less they say that I mean the standards are not that much differ with each other. They have the same standards for halal, but they have different standardization codes and numbers and everything. So that's why Halal Asia is working towards like with one certificate. With one certificate, the products could be export globally. So that's why we are trying to get the accreditation from Malaysia and JBBUH from Indonesia, and they are right now working on their own standards, accreditation body and standards. So we are trying to get. So right now, what we are doing is we have signed the MOUs with the CVs in the respective countries. CBs in the respective countries, otherwise locally who got accreditation from those accreditation bodies. We are working with them and trying to meet the customer's need. So end of the day, customer satisfaction is our main agenda. So we are trying to meet the customer's need by issuing all the certificates, and sometimes we act as a consulting agent. See, I will get a certification from this for you and this for you. We will give you awareness, and we will help you in documentation process, and we'll get the certification for you. That's it, finished. Recently, Tata Foods is our customer. We are doing that one for them. So they want Malaysian and this one UAE and Bangladesh and Philippines. So Bangladesh and Philippines, they don't have any accreditation bodies. Only CBs are there. So we are working with the respective CVs. So what are the standards would be there? How to make the products go into the country without any issues like that. So we are working in, that's a challenge we face. Our request as a CB is to unite and have a common standard like ISO, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's my request to all the accreditation bodies around the world to have a unified accreditation body. It will help the CBs. Otherwise, we are
Yes, yes.
investing money in different ACs.
Definitely.
So ABs. So that's a challenge we face.
That's very helpful to know, and we've been covering this in our report as well. That SMIC has introduced its halal standards for the OIC, but there is still some way to go before everything becomes unified, and then inshallah the halal industry will be more streamlined. Mr. Noor, thank you, Ms. Banu. Mr. Noor, I'd like to ask you, what are the challenges that you see for halal industry players in India? What is needed to strengthen the system and increase the demand for halal?
What I see is one thing is, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, great. So what I feel is one thing is halal awareness, right halal awareness, which is needed to be created in India. Then we also need halal startup incubators, inshallah, with where startup and entrepreneurs who want to enter into this industry can get proper training with regards to developing right halal products and services. That is one. Then we also need a startup fund based on Islamic finance to help the startups to get started and enter into this industry. So these are some of the main challenges which I have observed. Plus, we need to also help halal startups with proper branding. I have seen products which are great but not branded properly, in terms of packaging, in terms of marketing. Plus, we also need a dedicated online retail platform uh, for halal products, so Muslim consumers within India can find halal products easily, inshallah. So these are
Sorry, please go on.
so these are some of the things that I have observed since last 11 years. So inshallah, we are working towards it, and we will do our best, inshallah, with this regard. And alhamdulillah, we have already started halal startup support with our partners in Malaysia, and we have some of the best people in the industry, like Sheikh Hani Al Mazidi from Kuwait and Professor Irwandi Jaswir from Malaysia and Dr. Hasib from Singapore. So Alhamdulillah, we have some of the best people with us, and we are already out there, and we are open to help startups with provide them consultancies, help them develop proper halal products and services for the respective market, inshallah.
That's very good. That's very good to know, because this is a definite need, not only in India, but even during interviews with other companies that we've spoken to across OIC countries, we've noticed that SMEs are struggling, startups are struggling to get finance, especially Islamic finance. So now with that specific mention of Islamic finance, Dr. Sharif, I'd like to ask you, you've mentioned that the awareness is very low. You mentioned earlier that the awareness for Islamic finance is very low. What steps can be taken to increase the awareness for the need? And there, at the same time, how can we promote Islamic finance as an alternative, ethical financing model for other Indians too, not just Muslims, because it is something that is more sustainable. It lessens the divide between the rich and the poor. So what can be done to increase the awareness, and some initiatives that are possibly going on, please let us know. We can't hear you, Dr. Nisar.
Oh, sorry. I just forgot to switch on. That's a very important question in my view. And that is where in my effort has been there are temptations that Islamic finance is Muslim finance, and therefore we should develop a system within our own. For example, halal food, etc., are much easy because people can't avoid not going to have food. But finance is something where people tend to go and tend to look at within. So it becomes very risky proposition that a financial system within getting developed within our community or outside the mainstream regulation. If that happens, then there are issues of consumer exploitation, which we have seen that every certain period
Yes.
there are Islamic and Ponzi schemes coming. Whether they are, how Islamic they are, that's not a question, but they are able to successfully mobilize large amount of sums and go away. So my effort has been to bring Islamic finance in the mainstream by convincing the regulators and policy makers that this is good for the system, not only for a community. Because if somebody is willing to share risk, the borrower should be happier. So that has been the value proposition where we have been arguing. And fortunately, despite governmental support, if you look at Indian financial system, things have been coming from bottom to up, not the other way around in many countries that you see today because of government support, because of central bank support. So we have private initiatives by BSC, NSC having large number of, NSC is having 3 Sharia indices. For a country like India, having 3 Sharia indices doesn't make much sense, but they are very optimistic about it. You see Kerala government having Islamic finance company. Company is not successful in mobilizing resources, but it nevertheless shows the commitment of a state level government. You will also see that not only state level government, central government is having Islamic finance reinsurance, which is re-takaful. So government of India on GIC is doing re-takaful for many years now. It is more than 10 years I established their division. So there is a central government which is involved, there is a state government which is involved, there are private players which is involved. But unless until it comes from within the community, the benefit will not reach. It's not that size of Islamic finance is very negligible in India even at this moment. We have huge amount of funds. Many don't declare that it is Sharia compliant because for various reasons they don't think it is necessary to declare that it is Sharia compliant.
Right.
But what has been missing in all these effort is the mass level product where people can participate with their small levels of saving, get halal return, get reasonable return, get adequately protected by the system so that they are not exploited for emotions. And that is where private initiatives in form of Rahbar, in form of others are coming up. Many Muslims in last 10 years have adopted cooperative routes so that they can have a member-owned saving and member-used lending kind of structure. There are other interesting developments also happening in the areas of like micro insurance, etc. So overall, it's not very pessimistic scenario, as I would say. The only thing is that India is a huge country. There are efforts in bits and pieces here and there, and collating everyone is a challenge in itself. But a lot of things are happening, and once we connect the dot, we will see that India is moving in right direction with right sort of set of products.
So there are signs of hope, but there's a lot of hard work to be done.
Yeah, I would not have been here if there was no hope. Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes, yes, very much. It's a huge country and huge opportunity. You see, Islamic finance, Sri Lanka is 14th.
Right.
If you look at only Muslim market, entire Sri Lanka doesn't have as many Muslim as Mumbai alone has, right? So even Mumbai takes interest, that will be bigger than Sri Lanka or many Muslim countries. So, but I'm not looking at only Muslim specific. What we are looking at in terms of Islamic finance is, Islamic finance brings certain very important values as far as financing mechanism is concerned. Sharing of risk and reward, financing ethically important businesses, not financing harmful sectors. So if you look at sustainable investments, if you look at sustainable development goals, all these are actually a kind of inspired by Islamic finance argument. If you look at Islamic finance argument in 70s and 80s, and if you look at the history of SDGs, history of principles of responsible investment, you see that they are somewhere, even the risk sharing of risk and reward, the kind of structure we are talking about is all some or other way is inspired by the value. I'm not saying they are necessarily inspired by name Muslim or Islamic, but the value that Islamic finance brings on table, that you earn your share You take your share of risk. You don't earn by costing others, by causing harm to others. So all those values are very, very human value, universal values. And on this basis, I think India should go and try to involve a lot of other communities, because as far as values are concerned, there are a lot of people who are going to support us. And that, I think, is the way for development of Islamic finance in India.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharif. I'm going to take a few minutes to just look through the questions and see if there's anything that we have only a few minutes, but let me see if there are any questions that you can answer or the other panelists can answer. Please give me 1 minute. There's one question for Mrs. Bano, which is, do you see any kind of challenges with certificate tampering? Are you seeing something of that kind in your business?
Not really, not really. I mean, certificate tampering we won't do, because the certification process is, we won't, though it's a 3-year process, as per the standard, we have to issue the certificate for 3 years for Gulf and all. And but we issue the certificate for 1 year, and we particularly mention this is the expiry date for the certificate, and we do the follow-up, and we'll go and do the surveillance audit. In the after the end of the year, we'll do the surveillance audit in the 2nd year and 3rd year also. After that, we'll issue the new certificate for the next year thing, 2nd year and 3rd year thing. And in that one, certificate tampering won't happen. See, if anything happens, if we see any misuse of certificates, we always withdraw the certificate and we put it in our website or something like that. We indicate to the customers that they are not particular product is not certified by Halal Asia. We withdrew the certificate kind of. We never face or seen any kind of such activities from the customers.
That's great. That's helpful to know, because I think as a Muslim consumer, everybody wants to have the trust in a certificate. So I think that's why the question came in. Dr. Nisar.
One more thing, see, the blockchain technology is also working in that one to avoid these kind of issues. Halal Asia is working in that way also. So hopefully in future we can have a clear picture with where these kind of doubts could be avoided.
Okay. Yes, definitely we're seeing that growing in Indonesia. We're seeing that growing in different markets. So blockchain is definitely both in fintech, in halal authenticity, tracing. It's definitely something that Indian markets should also look into. I'm going to, Dr. Nisar, there's a question about what are the options for startups to be supported by Islamic finance? What are your views on this? Are there such options available?
There are some community-owned organizations which are coming up, but because of the risk involved, they have been abstaining from financing startups. The startups are usually, run by people who are very emotionally attached to their ideas, but many a time that doesn't make great business sense. So that is the reason a great number of startups are not actually having economic viability. And because these fintech-led financing institutions are, involving a lot of crowdfunding, so they can't afford to take the risk of a startup. So that is the reason that many Islamic financial institutions which are coming up in the community are actually not choosing startup. But startups also have a platform at BSc and NSC where they can go and list themselves. If their ideas are good enough, they will be supported by mainstream player, and they can list themselves, and from there they can upgrade to the main boards. So that option is there. Of course, startups everywhere in the world also are not financed by financial institutions per se in the beginning. They are financed by family, friends, and fools, and venture capitalists, etc. So that's a reality.
Thank you, Dr. Nisar. We've reached the end of our session. I want to thank all of you once again. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your insights with us. There are questions from the panelists, from the audience that we weren't able to take right now, but we hope to address these individually offline through email. The questions will be available to the panelists as well to answer. So we hope the audience will be able to receive their answers from after the session. I'm now going to go back to Mr. Ibn Arabi. Back to you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ms. Semin. It's been a fascinating conversation and debate, extremely rich in complexity, but also with a promise for the future with the actors of the Islamic economy that we have had on the panel, sharing their thoughts, and we just looked at the tip of the iceberg here in terms of the importance of and the complexity of some of the topics discussed today. So just maybe as a wrap up, and perhaps for the audience to know what to do next, as you rightly mentioned, we're going to be sharing some of the outstanding questions with the panelists here, who will be able to provide their responses. And I just wanted to very quickly share with you the website Salam Gateway, the leading media organization for the B2B Islamic economy. You're going to be able to sign up to the newsletters here by entering your email address and selecting the specific topic that you're interested in. You can also consult this year's State of the Global Islamic Economy landing page, which is loading right now with videos of each of the launch events that we've had so far. The ability to download, you're going to have to register or log in to download, but also executive summaries for a shorter version of the event, of the report. You can consult the specific infographics that were discussed by sector, as well as some of our partner stories, related coverage, Gen Z and entrepreneurship stories from women in the Islamic economy, and then other global media mentions from third-party websites covering the State of the Global Islamic Economy launch. And finally, here is a list of all the launch cities that we have and the photo galleries that will be updated on a regular basis with the different launch events that happened so far. And then just on the dashboard that Rafiuddin Shiko shared previously, you can access it by clicking on the top right-hand side of the page on the landing page and consult the different data points that we have on the dashboard. So that's it for me. Once again, a very big thank you to our panelists and to our host today, the ICIF organization, as well as Atoba, for organizing this for the India launch. And we really look forward to the next event, inshallah, hopefully next year, and perhaps we'll have the opportunity to do it physically in Delhi or Hyderabad or anywhere else in India. Thank you once again, everyone, and have a lovely day. Assalamu alaikum.